Every now and then, I like to do what I consider a best of episode for the Power Transformation podcast. Podcasters do best of episodes for a variety of reasons, but for me, it's so that you can be exposed to perhaps episodes that you haven't heard before. And that you can glean or take away something that you can apply for your own life, even if it's a past episode. Also, best of episodes are a great way for content to not only stay relevant, but it's a good way for a podcaster to take a break or regroup or do podcast editing or work on other projects while not losing traction or momentum on their shows. So, in this case, with it being close to the end of summer, I wanted to share with you this episode from someone that I interviewed last June of 2023 by the name of Arifay Joyner. Arifay is a person that I am so honored to say is a friend. I don't use that word lightly either. I've known Arifay ever since childhood. We graduated high school together, but Arifay has had such a remarkable life. And in this particular episode, you're going to hear about how at one point everything seemed to be falling apart in her life. And yet, Arifay did not let that hinder her, but instead, she used that as the fuel and the catalyst to get her to where she is now in her life. This episode is all about gratitude, resilience, and unwavering belief. So stay tuned for this best of episode from Arifay Joyner. This guest is something serious. All of my guests have been, but I have the one, the only Arifay Joyner on the Power Transformation podcast. She goes by other names as well. She is definitely one of the most dynamic human beings that I know. And what she has to say today is going to really help your life. So welcome, Arifay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Thank you for having me.
Girl, yes, I'm so happy to have you up here. And y'all, I'm just going to put it up front here. Arifay and I go way back to childhood. We actually went to the same high school, graduated together. But the irony of it is we were always cordial, but Arifay and I did not start a friendship until we were adults. So we had mutual friends, but we didn't actually hang out or even have classes or really converse with each other back in school. And it goes to show you, for any teenagers listening, y'all don't get caught up in the high school drama or who knows who or what, because it's really not until you are grown when you actually form a lot of those longer lasting bonds. So I'm just saying. But anyway, Arifay, let's go ahead and jump right on into this. I want to ask you a question first just to get started. This is the question, totally random, but if you could have dinner with anybody in history, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Ooh,
You
okay.
didn't know I was gonna throw that at you.
I did not. So I'm gonna say and this is totally random. I'm gonna say Donny Hathaway.
Oh,
I'm
Donny
gonna
Hathaway. Tell
Donny
us
Hathaway.
why.
So
Why?
Donny Hathaway is actually one of my favorite artists. A lot of his music has just spoken to me on just so many different levels, right?
Mm.
And I guess in that conversation, I would just want to pick his brain just to understand like what space was he in when he, created some of those songs. I think that, just in general, music is one of those tools where it's an expressive tool, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of people use the lyrics and the undertones of the actual instrumentation to tell a song itself. So I would want to understand like what song, what story are you looking to tell with this?
That is absolutely powerful. And I never shared this with you, but there's a personal connection in terms of my family with Donny Hathaway, Layla Hathaway. That's really, really amazing. And we'll talk offline with that, but it's just crazy how life comes full circle. Out of all people, that's who you would say. So I'll definitely have to share that with you offline. Yes, audience, keeping y'all in mystery, like, huh? But if we talked about that, it would be forever. But he's definitely a legendary musician. And Arifay, what the audience does not know but are about to know is that you too are a musician. Tell us about that.
Okay, so always been a lover of music.
Mm-hmm.
Music literally is my vibe, right? It gets me going. I started songwriting actually back in high school.
Mm.
Prior to, I would always listen to songs, write down the lyrics, memorize it, regurgitate the lyrics over songs. But then I started writing my own songs, right? And participated in a talent show at
Mm-hmm.
Indian River High School.
Yes, Chesapeake, Virginia, Indian River
Right?
High.
Raised in the house. So
That's right, back in the 90s.
and that was really like my first, just I didn't even realize that I guess I could become a songwriter. It was just like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
let me write something. And that was the moment that I realized that writing was something that allowed me to express myself when I felt like I guess I couldn't necessarily do it verbally.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah.
And where does the inspiration for your music come from? Does it come from your experiences? Does it come from everyday life? Where do you find that passion for your songwriting? What inspires you?
I would say all the above. I literally use music as the fuel, right?
Mm.
Fuel to get me through my day to day. I could be sitting on the water and hear, a certain cadence of the ocean, and that would spark, a level of
Mm-hmm.
creativity in my mind, and I may come up with a lyric or I may come up with a melody or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's like I literally hear music all the time, from the fan blowing and just hearing little imperfections in those sounds, but I hear the rhythm, right? And it's usually stuff that other people don't hear. So I think that's kind of like that creative side where
Mm-hmm.
you tend to connect with things outside of the norm and turn it into art. So yeah.
Now, you did mention our high school, which is Indian River High School, which is in Chesapeake, Virginia. An audience for you all that may not be exactly sure where Chesapeake is, it is considered Tidewater or Hampton Roads, part of Virginia. That's southeastern Virginia, the 757. But in that area, you have Norfolk, Chesapeake, Portsmouth, Virginia Beach, Suffolk, Hampton, Newport News, pretty much are what we call those 7 cities. And we're literally, in terms of where we grew up, it's literally by the ocean and it's literally on the North Carolina line. So we tend to kind of joke at times and say we are from the real South. We are from the real Virginia, because Virginia as a commonwealth, note, I did not say state, but as a commonwealth, it has totally different cultures depending on where you are. Northern VA is different from Richmond. Richmond is different from Southeastern VA, where we're from. Western is different. I'm naming all these geographical places because Arifay has recently experienced a major transition in her life where she took a bold move at the point in the place she is in life to literally shift. Arifay, please tell us where you are currently located geographically.
Right. I am currently down in the bayou, down here in New Orleans, Louisiana, the deep South, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
One of my
third,
favorite places. Oh, I love New Orleans.
Yes, who
Mm-hmm.
doesn't love New Orleans is
Mm-hmm.
whew, the place of creativeness. So
Yes.
I love it. So yeah, I took that move, took that transition. Some would say it was pretty abrupt, but it's
Mm-hmm.
a necessary transition that aligned with just the shift in my life overall. So
But also, part of that is something that I know that you shared with me over the course of our friendship. But I'm big on the ancestors, and you and I both are spiritual people, believing in the power of God, but also believing in the power of the blood that runs through our veins. So, share a little bit about. Yes, it was a random move, but it's deeper than that. Why is that area so special to you?
okay, so this is actually the area where my mother grew up.
Mhm.
My mother was born and raised here. Actually, shortly after I was born, my mother came here to visit. I had my first solid foods here.
Mm,
I've been coming back and forth ever since I was a young child. So New Orleans has always been my home away from home, and
mhm,
now it's my home today.
mhm,
There's so many different things outside of just with family, but a lot of the things that I love are very popular here. Like I'm big on art, right? Culinary arts, music arts, visual arts, and it's literally a hub here. So just being able to live here now, I feel like I'm surrounded by all of the things that I love. And I think
mhm.
that that is very important with with this transition, just to help continue to spark that creativity, but be surrounded by literally the things that help keep me going.
And while this transition is huge and people could say, wow, that's a big move to just leave the area with which you were familiar and to just leave and to shift. But there's a bigger purpose and a bigger meaning behind that transition. And a lot of it stems from while you are in such a new, amazing, wonderful space, getting there did not necessarily come easy. And you experienced much loss, many lessons over that road. So, Arifay, kind of backtrack and take us somewhere because it might be somebody out there who is going through a transition, going through a shifting, maybe not quite sure where their feet are going to land. And they may be in quite a tough time right now with no hope in sight. Let's start to shift now and speak a little bit about this connection between grief or loss and transition. And grief in this essence, I'm not necessarily talking about a human being dying. A couple of shows back, I talked about grief in terms of a person passing away. But let's talk about some of the losses that you experience that have actually turned into incredible gains and wins. Take us anywhere you'd like to go with that.
Ooh, okay. Let's start with the job. Let's start with the
Mhm,
career. I was on my career, at the time, 21 years connected to the government. I worked in the naval ship repair industry and started off as an apprentice electrician, worked my way up through management, last position held engineering tech. And I was doing a lot of different things, right? I learned a lot of different things along the way. But I wasn't happy, right? Um,
mm,
I was trying to make the best out of the situation. And the more I tried to do that, the more I could, just suffered. I literally felt like I was suffering. And
mm,
towards the end of that particular season, it became more and more apparent that that was not where I was supposed to be. So I started to experience, just different feelings about, whether or not I was making the right decision. I didn't want to leave the job because I had so much time invested there, but
mhm,
um, I I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there. So I really struggled with that. Just trying to figure out, like, what does that next step look like? How do I detach from that? Right. Sometimes I guess it is kind of an attachment. for me, it felt like something that I had invested so much of my energy into. I just could not let it go. I literally looked at it as, man, I'm losing all of the stuff that I poured into it. But I just didn't have, I guess at the time, the insight of, hey, as they say, when one door closes, another door opens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I struggled with that emotionally, mentally, physically. I mean, literally it got to the point where I was crying going into work because I
Wow.
literally crying. Like I would pull up to the parking lot and break down. I was just like, I can't do this, right? I can't do this anymore.
Mm.
And that's something that, a lot of people just they really don't know like how much I internalize going through that. And I prayed, I literally asked God to remove me from that situation by any means necessary.
Mm.
Um, I felt like I couldn't do it on my own. And then I started to see almost an immediate shift, right? Nothing was going as planned, right? Each day became more and more of a challenge. Physically, it was like, okay, I literally struggled just going in there. And then it got to where, one day I was there and I just kind of broke down. It was like my mind was not in that place. I was literally like in this vulnerable state to where I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And I left. Long story short, I left. Um, Went to the hospital. They like, blood pressure super high, pre-stroke
Mm.
symptoms. No, you can't go back. You need to take some time off. So I was literally forced into a situation where I had to shift out of that, right?
Wow.
And that was at a time period where I was taking care of my mother. And at the time, we did not know what was going on with my mom. She
Mm-hmm.
was experiencing, some loss of some, physical capabilities. And literally, I want to say a couple of weeks, probably about 2 weeks prior to my last day on the job, my mom was diagnosed with ALS, which is a motor neuron condition. And
And now, is that Lou Gehrig's disease or is that different?
yes, Lou Gehrig's, yep.
Lou Gehrig's disease. Wow. So you're going through all of this pressure at work and just knowing this isn't the fit for you. Then on a personal front, experiencing more stress and having to shift into a new normal with your mother.
Yes,
Whoa.
it was literally, I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was just kind of existing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
literally at any moment, I was going to hit that breaking point. And I did, right? And it got to where I couldn't even, I struggled with getting out of the bed, let alone getting out of the house, right? And,
Mm-hmm.
that was a period that was, it was a tough transition. However, it was a necessary transition. Now I know because it was like I had to be purged of the things that did not belong in my life,
Pause
right?
right there. Pause right there. Hold on. When you said that you hit that breaking point and you couldn't get to a point of even getting up out of bed, I know it was a slow build, but what was that straw that broke the camel's back?
Whew. It was literally, I felt like my mind was just racing, right? There's so many, I'm trying to make
Mhm.
decisions on things that I didn't see the answer for, right? I really didn't know how to one, leave that one situation. Hey, um, what am I gonna do with my mom? What does this diagnosis really mean? Right.
Mhm.
And when my mom received her diagnosis, we were pretty much told she didn't have long to live. So all of these things are just kind of at the forefront of my mind. And it was just overwhelming.
And when was this approximately in terms of a year?
This was February. She got her diagnosis February 26th of 2018.
So it's been 5 years
Five
and
years.
she's still here.
She's still here. She is still here, honey.
Oh my gosh.
She's still here.
So how involved so while she got the diagnosis and you're dealing with work and everything, how involved were you though with your mom's actual care?
Yeah, I was her primary caregiver. So every day
Oh.
literally from bathing to feeding. Initially, she was walking, but just, with assistance, but she lost a lot of her capabilities, a lot of her abilities, like
Mm-hmm.
early on. So she went from walking to, being in a wheelchair to being bedridden in a matter of months. She lost her vocal ability. So she, required a communicative device to actually help her speak.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just so many things that happened in that short period of time. And I almost didn't have time to think about what I was going to do. I just had to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I'm losing. I feel like I'm just kind of losing myself, right?
Ooh.
I'm losing literally, yeah, everything that I, was had been normalized in my life, right? From a social aspect, or, just doing all the things that I like to do. All of that came to a stop.
So when it came to a stop, Arifay, did you, although you were taking care of your mom, you had shifted from that job that was just weighing you down. Now you're taking care of your mom. How did you get back to self?
Hmm.
Did you get therapy? Did someone tell you, look, boo, you got to take care of you? What happened? How did you get there? Because somebody listening might be at that point where they're like, I don't know who I am or what's going on or if I'm coming or going. So,
Yeah.
how did you get back to self? I mean, you've just made a move. You are looking amazing. You look vibrant from what I see. Of course, this is audio, but the whole point is that you don't look like what you've been through, girl.
Yes, indeed.
So, how did you reclaim that from losing you?
Yeah, it was actually, and if I may backtrack just a little bit,
Yeah, go ahead.
probably about a year and a half prior, I started therapy, right?
Oh,
And it was, I felt like I was at a robotic state, right? I was just going, literally just existing. But I felt like it was only a matter of time before this crash and burn happened, right? So I'm
yeah.
trying to get in front of it. I really don't know what to do. One of my siblings said, "Hey, you should consider, talking to a therapist." I said, "Okay." At this point, I had no other answers, so I went online, looked up a therapist, and that was single handedly one of the best decisions that I made. That literally was a life saving decision.
Mm,
Um, I at the time, like I said, this was prior to, um, you know, the challenges with the job and with my mom. Um, I was still at a very high stress state, because of work. And during those sessions, we literally just started unpacking things that I didn't even know was having a lasting impact on me, right? So, that was kind of like the beginning stage of just doing some self-evaluating and just
mhm.
looking at, my life as a whole, and kind of getting a better understanding of the whys of things over the years, right? Even even as it relates to decision making, right? I realized that I really had an attachment to a lot of things. So in order for me to move forward, I had to lose some things. So to bring that back to where, that 2018 time period, I reengaged in therapy. And that was like literally the step. That was the only thing that was able to help bring me out of that state. I
Wow.
was in a very depressive state. I didn't know it. I was dealing with anxiety, lots of things, and just didn't know what to do. So that definitely helped me. Getting back in therapy and really, just kind of addressing all of the things of life.
Mhm.
And I will say that's I recommend that to anybody that um actually, let me not just say anybody that's facing any kind of adversity.
Anybody.
Anybody, let's just say that. Let's just say
Girl,
that
yes.
if you go to the dentist,
Ooh,
right? You
yes.
get your regular checkup of, other aspects of your body. The
Mhm.
one part of your body that literally controls everything often has the most neglect, right? So,
Mm.
and that is the one thing that I would say across the world, we struggle with our emotional state, right?
That's right.
That is so but we neglect that.
Hmm.
Right?
Because our brain is an organ, and people have to remember that. If
Yeah,
our heart is in pain, we either have gas or we having a heart attack. So we know that we need to get checked out. But society does not think about the brain as an organ.
yeah, yeah. And when you think about it, like with the brain, there's so much. For me, it was like I had so much going on in my brain, right? And
Hmm.
literally, I was at the max capacity, so I had to
Ooh,
release. I had to release. I had to lose those things that was occupying space, valuable space, so that I could receive.
it was on just overdrive in a
over,
way.
Whew, overdrive, overcrowded, just
Mm.
so much. Like I
And
said,
then, real quick, because I think I may have misunderstood, and just hearing a comment you made a few minutes ago, you were caring for your mom and still working at the exact same time, or did you take off time from work?
so I was caring for her while I was still working. So I was
Oh
very
Lord,
working a
girl.
job. But in the early stage, she still had her mobility. She
Hmm.
was at home. When I wasn't there, my dad was there. So she wasn't at the point where she required that full time care. So it was more of a, kind of a assistant. She's losing certain things.
Okay, and it
So
gradually progressed to needing that full time care.
yes,
But even then, were you still working?
yes. I was working up until about 2 weeks after her diagnosis.
Oh my gosh.
Like, at that time, because she had lost so much,
Mhm.
it was just too much. It was too much. I had to get something off my plate. I had to make room, right? You have
Mhm.
to make room so that you can create a space to be able to do other things. So for me, I could not work. Work was already a challenge, right? But I was trying to figure out how to continue to do that and do this, and it was just too much.
Let me ask you this though, because I know how close you are with your mom. And despite her physical ailment, this is a question that I really want to ask you, Arifay. Is your mother, despite her physical condition, her mental function is still there? And therefore, my question to you is, what lessons, even if your mom couldn't always speak them to you, what lessons did your mother teach you
Mm,
about finding yourself again? Because mamas know their babies.
sure.
They know their babies. And what did she teach you, or how has she contributed to you redefining and reinventing yourself?
Ooh, I will say, even if I'm just gonna let me just use this one time period, right?
Go
From the
ahead.
time of her onset, right? Till even now, she lost so much of what she was used to
Mhm.
having, right? She was used to walking unassisted. She was used to communicating unassisted. However, she found another way to still be able to do it,
My
right?
Lord, yes.
So even in spite of the things that she lost, there were still things that she gained, right? And that's something that she and I we would joke about, right? While I would care for her, I had to get real creative, right? Because
Mhm.
she literally lost her independence as she knew it, right?
Mhm.
Um, so it's like, how do we get that back? So we got creative, right? We turned her room into a smart room. She has this communicative device where she literally types with her eyes and she looks at a button and it speaks, right? So it gives a command.
Mhm.
So, popular device out, the Alexa device, right? So,
Yes.
we programmed it to where she could control the lights by giving it the command. So she still is able to, control her lights, control her music, She could control the TV. She still had that control, right? Um, she would send messages via text often. um, Everybody would look forward to her text messages, right? She would send them long, 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 long messages. But a lot of those messages were inspiring, right? She would
Mm,
always just give us some words of inspiration. So, in spite of what she was going through, she still figured out a way to communicate that hope. And that single handedly helped me kind of restore my faith and realize that, you know what, I may have lost these things over here. However, there's another way to do it, right?
mm.
Maybe it's all about the approach. So definitely some lessons learned.
That's incredible. That's incredible for someone to have experienced so much what others would say as loss, or even some people may feel sorrow or pity for her. She was like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna just find a way to do it differently.
yeah, yeah.
And to give you and others that hope. That is, oh girl.
You know what, the joke that we had, I would address her as the Queen of Algiers. Algiers
Oh,
is an area of New Orleans,
New
right?
Orleans, yeah.
And I would come into her room. I would treat her as royalty that she is, right? So, okay, madame, I'm here to bathe you today. I'm like, this is your time to rest.
Ooh,
Right? So, it did, kind of shifted to where she's getting pampered, right? Versus, oh, she can't do for herself. It's a lot of things just boil down to the mindset,
the
right?
mindset, yes.
So just
Shifting that
shifting the
mindset.
mindset on that,
Mm,
alone really just kind of changed how that caregiving aspect just went. It went from, oh my gosh, this is, as you say, some people feel like it's a pity party, or oh, it's so bad. But no, like my mother, she took care. She had 4 children.
mhm,
And all of the extended children, right, from Indian River, all of the athletes,
mhm.
my sisters and my brother's friends and stuff like that. My mom's always taking care of people. And I said, you know what, Mom? This is your time to be taken care of. So maybe this was what needed to happen for you to be taken care of, to slow down, to take that break.
Mm. A wife, a mother, grandmother, an aunt, a sister, daughter. Oh my gosh, just so much. A friend.
Yes.
What an amazing woman. And so, from those lessons that your mom taught you specifically in her time of need, and just the miracle of her still being here, although they said she didn't have very long, God has the final say so. You then shifted to a new career. And you also shared with me that you had to let go of certain attachments. So we don't have a lot of time left on this interview today, but can you talk a little bit about what you meant when you told me offline that once you started healing, that you had to release certain attachments? What does that mean? And can you also speak directly to someone who may be going through a similar season of loss and transition, but might not know how to let go of certain things that they need to let go of?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I lost a lot of physical things. I lost some, people, lost some friendship, lost some people from this earth,
Mhm.
stuff, I lost stuff, right? Anything that has, has any kind of value to you, when you lose it, it has an impact, right? So, for me, the loss, or what appeared to be a bad loss, right, was really an opportunity for me to detach, to allow for other things to happen in my life. So sometimes you have to, we talk about spring cleaning, right? You pull
Mhm.
everything out, right? What do? You pull everything out, you cleanse it,
That's right.
and then you come back with a fresh perspective, right? So
Mhm.
if you apply that to life, right? You look at, hey, sometimes a loss isn't necessarily forever, right? It may be a temporary situation.
Mm.
It may be a boundary that just needed to happen, right? Sometimes we allow certain things and people to stay on the wrong side of the boundary, right?
Mm.
Or if there is a boundary, sometimes it's about establishing a boundary. That was something I literally didn't have any boundaries. I mean, for the most part, I allowed people and things to um, occupy a space in my life that was not conducive for the things that I needed to do for self.
Ooh.
So with that being said, it was necessary to make the transition to create distance, right? Healthy distance from friends, family, career decisions, social things. Not that it's a bad thing, but in order to create the space that was needed for my growth, I had to go through, those periods of loss. I look at it as a cleansing period.
Mhm.
Right? So these cleansing periods, and I'm in it right now, right? I'm in it right
Mhm.
now. This transition, this move, definitely allowed me to, I would say, eliminate a lot of distractions. Not that they were bad distractions, but they were distractions, right? Anything that's occupying your time and you want to use that time for something else is kind of, you're kind of juggling. We only have so many hours in a day.
Mhm.
So making that transition and creating that distance is necessary for the immediate expansion that I needed, as well as the things that are coming ahead. Because it's so many things that have opened up for me just from this move, even
Mhm.
just a level of creativity. And it all boiled down to just being able to be in a space to where I could focus on self and not have to be focused on so many other things outside of self.
What would you say to somebody who is in a transitionary period, but may still be experiencing loss, or even maybe haven't even started their own healing journey? Maybe they have, but they may not know which direction to go. They may not even know what's next for them. What would you say directly to that person?
I would say try not to get so caught up into trying to figure out exactly what needs to happen next, right? Just know that something needs to happen, right?
Mhm.
Change needs to happen, right? Just like as the seasons change and we go through these cycles, right? Through the spring, summer, fall, winter, what happens? Things die off. And guess what? They rebloom.
Hmm.
It's a cycle, right? Our lives happen in cycles. So I would say try not to get so caught up in um, the what's and having the final answer. The way this world is, you can't control everything that happens, but you can control how you allow it to impact you. So
Mhm.
if you look at it as okay, whatever that next step looks like, I just know I have to do
Mhm.
whatever that do looks like for you. You just have to do it and be willing to embrace the change that comes along with it.
What would you say to the former Arifay, to the overwhelmed Arifay, to the Arifay whose mind was cluttered and racing? What would this version of Arifay say to her?
Slow down, breathe, step away, come back to it, repeat. Slow down, breathe, s- create a little distance, right? Just step away from a moment,
Mhm.
re-engage it. I'm literally doing that with my music. I took
Mhm.
hiatus and now I I took that break. I stepped away. Now I'm reapproaching it, and I have a new perspective. I have new creativity. I have new connections. It was necessary for those things to happen. So yes, it's okay. Just take that moment, exhale, reapproach it.
What brings you the most joy about this transition that you're in and have made so far?
I love myself.
Yes.
Me, me,
Woo.
we having a good old time here doing much of nothing.
Girl.
I did not realize that.
Mm.
I guess relaxing and just exploring self could be such a joyous thing. Like, I mean, I don't even watch TV. I have a TV,
Mm-hmm.
rarely watch it. I listen to music, a lot of times instrumentals or binaural sounds, things that are helping with, sleep or mood. I'm really focusing on my self growth, and that comes with internalizing, the things that I've internalized, like releasing that
Mm-hmm.
and just really paying attention to my body. When my body says no, I listen immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It says slow down, I slow down. So yeah, I can listen a little better without
Mm-hmm. all
all of the things around me. So yes, I'm enjoying just being with myself and enjoying myself. It's a
Yes.
beautiful thing.
And y'all, I won't give too much away, but just continue listening to this podcast because stay tuned for some things in the future. I won't share exactly what it is, but Arifay and I have had some offline conversations. So stay tuned as to what will be happening in the near future. The last thing that I want you to do, Arifay, is if a person, since there are certain things coming eventually and some things out now, how can someone connect with you on social media or follow you or anything like that?
All right. So you can connect with me via email
Mm-hmm.
at connect@hublinks.me. So that's connect, CONNECT, at hub links. That's HUBLINX.me. Again, connect@hublinks.me. On social media, you can follow me on Instagram at Faye Stizzo Music. That's FAYSTIZZO Music, all one word. Again, that's at Faye Stizzo Music.
Where does this Dizzo come from?
Once upon a time, uh, in my early rap career, music career, I was known as the one and only Faye Star.
That's
Two
right.
Faye Star, with two R's. And then during this transitional period, I somehow transitioned to Faye Stizzo. And Faye Stizzo is different than Faye Star. Life has been lifing, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Faye Stizzo's coming with a whole different. All I can say is stay tuned. So yeah,
Uh-huh. Exactly. Exactly. And
those
I
are
want to close. Yeah. And I want to close with this. Girl, I am so proud of you. It might seem cliche, but it's the truth. I am so proud of you. I'm so grateful for you in my life. I'm thankful for our friendship. But I also want to let the audience know this woman is such a loving, caring person, caring human being. In that, when we were in high school, as I said, we had mutual friends, and we both were the finalists for most talented our senior year of high school for our senior superlatives. Both of us were. Arifay won that category. It was a close race, but Arifay won. I was cool with it. I didn't think twice about it. It was all good. But Arifay took time, maybe not on that same day, but possibly that same week. Arifay actually came up to me, and just to kind of put it, or paraphrasing, she came to me and she congratulated me for my efforts and my talent. And I had lost. And I wasn't even upset about it. And I wasn't even thinking about it. But it was just her kindness as the winner of that category of most talented. She thought enough about me as the runner up to come to make sure I was okay. She didn't have to do that. And that lasted. And this was even before we were friends. We were simply acquaintances. But it's just the fact she took the time to say that to me. That lasted with me my whole life. Because in high school, she and I both were, I guess, what you would consider popular, but we were popular in different realms, different circles. We knew just about everybody, but our talents were different. I did singing and I did theater. She did art. She did rap. I mean, she did so much, right? But that has always resonated with me, is that your heart and your kindness, even back then, girl, stuck with me over the years. And for God to allow us to become sister friends, and that people don't even realize, like people that we grew up with don't even realize how close we are. But I trust you, you trust me. And I just thank you for being my sister. And I look forward to the day when we can meet the right men for us and get married and everything else and travel. But no, all jokes aside, girl, you are absolutely amazing. And I just know that God has so much more in store for your life. And I thank you for just being you and continue walking in your purpose, living unapologetically as yourself and just doing what you do. And I love you, girl. I do. Thank you for being a guest. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love you too. And I just want to say thank you for creating this amazing platform. It is so much needed, so necessary for a lot of people to be able to have a safe space to endure these golden nuggets, right? It's so many nuggets that I will say has definitely helped me along the way, especially in this transition, and has allowed me to be here today. So thank you for all that you are doing and all the things that you will continue to do. Thank you. Much love to you.
Much love to you also, girl. If you enjoyed today's show, then you don't want to miss an episode. So follow the Power Transformation Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you usually listen, and remember to rate and review. I also invite you to connect with me on social media at Alethea Felton. That's at ALETHEAFELTON. Until next time, remember to be good to yourself and to others.